We do a rapid-fire question
All right.
here. It's called If You Only Knew. We'll loosen you up here with the first car. What do you remember, and how many times did you get the car for transit or to make out in?
Well, I had a Honda. My very first new car was a 1976 Honda Accord, which I paid full sticker, $44.95. Thank you very much. Mind you, it was a gutsy move.
That when, brother?
1976 Accord in Flint, Michigan, no less.
Wow.
And that was in the days when the folks in Michigan were beating up Toyotas with hammers, because of and I got pulled over early in the morning in February by a local cop who said, "Son, you might want to be careful driving this car in town." And then I drove that little thing out here to California. I put a couple 100,000 miles on it, did all my own work on it. And I don't know that I ever made out in that car. Maybe with myself.
Well, you made it out of Flint.
Made it. There's got to be a rim shot here. Yeah, thank you very much. You made it out of Flint.
Someone who inspires you.
Oh, my goodness. I have to say that to this day, my grandfather inspired me, a Danish a fellow who was an electrical engineer. And when I, against the better wishes of my parents, decided it was time for me to go to Hollywood, he told me, because when he was a young man coming over from Denmark, he'd been told by the people who love him in Denmark, "You can't go do that, Robert. There are torpedoes in the water," because the Lusitania had just been sunk. And he said, "Robin, people will always tell you there are torpedoes in the water.
Wow.
So you got to
Goosebump line.
go do this," right? Great line. And remember, you're going to California, and the Pacific Ocean is named the Pacific for a particular reason. Let it pacify you. And so he was quite an inspiration.
Wow, that sounds like an avuncular Yoda guy.
He was totally avuncular and Yoda.
I love him.
Yeah. You know what? In this day and age, I think he was probably somewhere on the spectrum, because he was an incredibly profoundly gifted fellow, but wore the same pair of pants and same type of pants and shirt every day, because I think it was just easier for my grandmother to say, "Robert, just put this on."
Was he in Flint, too?
No, he was from, he lived in Detroit, and then they moved and retired up to northern Michigan, where my parents both retired up there.
Beautiful up there. Strangest fan encounter?
It was fairly recently, and I had a young woman ask me, seriously, and her words, "Will you sign my boob?" And she was not married, so apparently she wasn't referring to someone else. And she was referring to And I said, I can't do that.
I've had that.
Have you had that?
I find it weird. It bugged me. Stuck on a deserted island, what 3 things would you like to have with you?
Well, apart from my wife, of
Yes,
course,
of course.
we would bring, I would bring my Cheap Christmas compilation of all of Donald Fagen's work. I am an acolyte in the Church of Donald Fagen. I could listen to
Is Donald the surviving member?
Yes.
He's still going
He's still going
How
at
did
it.
they cover Walter?
Walter and Steely Dan, of course, the other half of that, is now at that giant
Yeah, but so how do they...
sky. Well, Donald Fagen has a prodigious solo collection. In fact, if you like Steely Dan, check out Donald Fagen's. It's called Cheap Christmas or Cheap Xmas, and it's a compilation of, I think he's got 4 solo records. But man, the cat is 72 years old,
very
still
groovy,
lights
man.
it up. Incredible arrangements.
Show you've been binge watching.
Oh, The Crown, right now.
Yeah, it's so good, huh?
Yeah, it's, I got to tell you, I was talking to other actors yesterday about that very fact, and we're in a time now as consumers of entertainment where, especially with new platforms, that are not beholden to advertisers. They don't have to worry about a 22-minute show with 11 minutes of commercials. Just say, "All right, kid, here's $5 million, and we'd like to see what you're doing, but pretty much it's, we want you to do what you can do." And that adage about there are no small actors, I mean, you watch The Crown or a BBC something, and a young man or woman will walk in, hand somebody a cup of tea, 2 lines, and they kill it. So where did that come from? I love that stuff.
Yeah.
So this new version of The Crown with Olivia
Colman. And the cat who plays her husband is unbelievable.
I've seen him before, but I'm telling you, the episode that, I'm not going to spoil it, but there was a Prince Philip-centric episode recently, and it was, jaw-dropping.
Yeah.
Astonishing. And it is nothing short of inspirational. It makes me want to keep doing my gig.
Favorite superhero? And this from a man who dwells in that.
I just play him on TV. A favorite superhero? I got to say Batman. I think because, like Ninja Turtles, that is a bulletproof franchise. And interestingly, to people my son's age, my sweet boy Ash is 35 years old, and to a lot of folks his age, and I would venture to some of the folks here, their favorite iteration of Batman is the animated version, in which Kevin Conroy was Batman and Mark Hamill was the Joker. And I've had Mark on my podcast a couple of times doing it live, and do you know that when we do Q&A, virtually no one asks questions about Star Wars. It's all about the Joker. Yeah. And I really dig that. There's to this day, that one line in the first Batman where Mike Keaton says, "I'm Batman."
Guilty pleasure.
Peanut butter and chocolate ice cream and caramel frappuccinos. I can't taste food very well anymore.
Not right now. Is it coming back? Do they tell you?
A little bit, but the one thing I can taste, if you're listening, Starbucks, caramel frappuccinos. No whip, extra caramel. I can taste it. It's 500 useless calories, but it's a guilty pleasure, and I have one every day because it's joyful. I can't taste, like I had some chicken the other day. It might as well have been a sponge.
I'm just thankful you have one thing you found.
Yeah, I've been pretty lucky.
No, I'm serious.
Thank you, buddy.
I mean, that's an existential dilemma. You talk about it if it all goes.
Yeah, the trade-off has been so worth it for opportunities like this. This is a bucket list thing for me to hang out.
You've got
it really
a taste
is,
for
my
life.
friend, honestly. And to get a chance to share this with you and your audience and spend some time with you specifically and talk about how grateful I am that all these characters have conspired to not only help me, but it turns out they mean a lot to a lot of other people too. And I tell people, this is a great example. I've been laughing hard with you, Dennis, and for years before this encounter. And I submit that laughter is so the best medicine, and the cool thing is you can't OD and the refills are free.
Never miss a beat. Subscribe to Larry King now and watch new episodes every day.